Welcome to a presentation about gerrymandering in Rockland County, New York by Stephen White. Gerrymandering is the process of redrawing district lines to predetermine the outcome of elections regardless of the will of the voters. In this example, there are 50 precincts, of which 60% prefer the green candidate and 40% prefer the yellow candidate. Correctly drawing district lines would create a representative body that reflects the will of the 50 precincts. Compactness is the most commonly referred to factor in gerrymandering. The example in the middle is perfectly compact and yet still does not represent drawing district lines to reflect the will of the voters. The middle example produces 5 green districts and 0 yellow districts, even though 40% of the population prefers yellow. It's also possible to draw very non-compact lines, which would create 3 yellow districts, a majority yellow even though it's a minority of the population. So compactness is important, but it's not the only factor. The main factor to consider is how the district lines preserve the will of the voters. Now let's have a look at Rockland County. We can see that the district lines for the Rockland County Legislature are, in many cases, not very compact. We're going to take a closer look at just a few of these districts in the following slides. Here we see the party representation of the population of Rockland County, about 50% Democrat, 25% Republican, and 25% not members of any party. Gerrymandering can be used to favor one party over another. It's probably the most common complaint is that one party gains control and draws the lines to maintain their control. So is this happening in Rockland County? Doesn't appear to be the case. The Democrats are the majority in population. They're the majority in representation on the legislature. The one group which seems to be disenfranchised by this system is those who choose not to belong to a political party. This is not surprising, since by choosing not to belong to a political party, people have relinquished a certain extent of power. However, our goal in drawing the lines and establishing the system is not to give power to those who already have power. The goal is to draw lines fairly so that representation is not excluded from those who don't start out with power. So our conclusion is that the legislative boundaries drawn for Rockland County mostly reflect membership in the major parties, and that those who don't belong to a party don't have representation. And Republicans disproportionately benefit from apportioning the no-party representation among the major parties in the Rockland County Legislature. The Voting Rights Act has 3 rules that regulate redistricting and which define what a community of interest is. So a minority group must be sufficiently numerous and compact in order to be considered, also politically cohesive, and also the majority must vote sufficiently as a bloc to enable it to usually defeat the minority's preferred candidate. So these 3 factors certainly apply here in Rockland County, and so any drawing of the lines should be drawn to preserve communities of interest and protect the rights of minorities. So here are some of the factors to look at when defining what a community of interest is. We have race, ethnicity, income, education, political engagement. So any of these factors could be used to help to define what a community of interest is. In the central portion of Rockland County, the most densely populated portion, I'm defining 3 communities of interest. The first I'm calling the Hillcrest Community of Interest, which has certain qualities which are common amongst many of the residents, owning their own homes, many African Americans and immigrants from various parts of the world. It includes geographically the hamlet of Hillcrest and part of the village of Spring Valley. And another thing they have in common, we do have a good portion of the population who are registered to vote. The second community of interest would be the Spring Valley Community of Interest. The big difference here, most are renters as opposed to owning their own homes. And many are not registered voters. We have a lot of immigrants who have not yet obtained citizenship required to be able to vote. The third community of interest I'm calling the Orthodox community of interest. This is different racially, they're majority white, and includes the Orthodox Jewish communities of New Square, Kaiser, Muncie, and sections of Spring Valley, many of whom vote as a block. So here's our Rockland County legislative map again. We're focusing in on this central section where you see a dark green and a pink and then a purple wrapping around them. Those are three districts which include three communities, or large parts of the three communities of interest that we're talking about. And here we've zoomed in on those three districts, legislative districts 8 and 13 and 14. And now I'm about to show you some magic. What I've done, I've obtained the information from the one dot per person and overlaid it over the Rockland County legislative map. And you're going to see now how the racial boundaries match the legislative boundaries and how sometimes they don't, where the communities of interest are broken up. So here comes some magic. Get ready. Here it is. Okay. So now as you can see, the blue coloring is the white population. Green, black, red is for Asian, and orange is for Hispanic. Now you see again the borders of those three legislative districts, 8 and 13 and 14. 8 and 13, you can see the lines follow very closely the border between the white neighborhood and the black neighborhood. So first we should make a note that it is extreme racial segregation in this part of Rockland County, especially in the white neighborhoods. You'll see the green and the red and the orange dots are all mingling together for the most part, some places a little more of one or the other. And then you'll see those blue dots, they really just love to be all by themselves and not mixed with others. However, when they draw the lines, look at District 13, there's a little neck there. District 13 stems from down all the way past Route 59, almost to the thruway, Route 87 287, and comes up through not a very compact shape, kind of a spiderish kind of a shape, up to the top. But then there's a little neck that connects to kind of almost a head-shaped piece that's all blue dots. And so what they've done is they've connected District 13, comprised of a lot of black and Hispanic areas in the Spring Valley area where there are not a lot of registered voters, with the very heavy voting white Orthodox community. A piece of that's been split off and attached to District 13. And indeed, that's the district that decides who's going to be the Rockland County legislator from District 13. The voters in that section vote completely opposite to the rest of District 13, and because they vote as a block, they're able to dominate. And if you look at District 8 just above, it's a little hard to see. All the way to the left, there's a place where the lines pretty much come together, but it's actually still the same District 8, and there's kind of a squarish shaped blue section, which again is the one that dictates who will be a legislator for District 8. And all the voters of color, their vote basically is not going to even count. It's very interesting how this affects turnout, because you think, oh, well, low turnout is the reason why you don't have representation, but it's actually the other way around. When people believe that their vote's not going to count, they don't bother to go vote. And that's what's been happening in District 8 and District 13. Also, you see a lot of black and Hispanic voters are also in District 14, could have been united with the other ones. They're part of the same community of interest, but they've been split away, weakening the power of the vote in Districts 8 and 13, or in any district which is created to provide representation in the Rockland County Legislature for the people of color who live in this central part of Rockland County. So here it is. This is the main slide for the show, illustrating how, by drawing the lines in a gerrymandered fashion, we can disempower, disenfranchise people of color in Rockland County. And this has been going on for 10 years now. The next census is coming up in 2020. They'll be redrawing the lines in 2021. And the goal of this presentation is for us to prevent another travesty for the people of color in Rockland County, that they should be disenfranchised through racial gerrymandering in the Rockland County Legislature. So here are our takeaway conclusions. The geographically compact Black and Latino communities in Hillcrest and Spring Valley are broken and spread across 3 legislative districts. Each of the largest broken pieces of the Black and immigrant community is paired with sections of the highly organized block voting white community. The districts are not compact and do not preserve communities of interest. And the conclusion is that the Rockland County Legislature is racially gerrymandered in violation of the Voting Rights Act. Thank you very much for watching.